Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we are joined by stand-up comedian, SNL alumni, and host of the Breuniverse podcast. You know him, Jim Breuer. Jim, you're awesome. First of all, I think so many people know you from your SNL days. You've been a comedian for, I feel like I've always known you as a comedian like my whole life. So cool to get you on the show. I always have the question whenever I talk to someone who has been in comedy, has made that your life's work, how do you even get a foot in the door? It seems like such a tough industry, so to speak, to break into. And like how terrifying the first time you get up in front of people and have to do like a stand-up routine. How did you end up doing this?
All right, Lara, I'm not going to lie to you. And I don't... I'm just being honest. I was so cocky.
Oh.
So cocky, so confident that I was going to be the next Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
So when I was in Long Island, I knew by the time I was 16, I was going to be doing stand-up comedy. I loved Richard Pryor. I loved George Carlin. I loved Steve Martin. I loved all the comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching everyone. Billy Crystal, Cosby at that time, everyone. But Eddie Murphy, for me, was within striking range. He was my age. I went, oh, my God, that guy's from Long Island. And so I knew I started writing routines by the time I was 16. When I graduated high school, we had some high school event, and I did bits there. I also would do them for my friends at a rock club. But once I went to the stand-up comedy place, a place called Governors on Long Island, I sat and I watched the open micers and I watched the pros, and I went, I can do this. I was so cocky. I was so convinced. After my first appearance, I was gonna have a 10 movie deal show. Like this is no stopping me.
Wow.
So but I have to say, like after the third week, I'm like, how come no one's discovered me yet?
You're like, I'm ready to go. Where do I sign?
Yeah, like I don't understand what's going on. I mean, I'm in week 3. Do they not see me?
Here.
That's when I realized, oh, okay, this is a longer road than I'm going to anticipate. But I never, ever thought about doing anything else.
Wow.
Really. It was a blip of time. When my parents got up and we moved to Florida in like 1987. And that took me off my track because I grew up the same street my whole life. I grew up same street. We never had to leave the street. It was a neighborhood. Everyone looked after each other, and one of those upbringings. And when I was in Florida, there wasn't comedy clubs like New York, and it just people wearing like alligator boots. I'm like, where am I right now? Like, what is?
I live in Florida most of the time. I've seen some alligator boots, but I haven't seen that many. Where in Florida did you live?
Well, at that time, it was called Palm Harbor, which is north of Clearwater.
Okay.
So you have Clearwater, Dunedin, Palm Harbor, Newport Richey. And then how it really changed was you're definitely a solid decade or so younger than me, at least. So you might not remember the Arsenio Hall show.
I remember the Arsenio Hall show. Yeah. Well, this thing,
right.
that thing. Yeah. I mean, like I was young, but like I'm getting to that point, Jim, where like I can't say anymore. Like, oh, people are going to stop saying to me, "You're too young to remember," because all these people are like going to die soon. I'm getting up there. I'm 40 years old now, so like those days are few and far between for me. I got to embrace them when I can get them. But yeah, I do remember Arsenio Hall show, of course.
Okay, so on Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy came on. This is my idol. Right? So I sat down, listened to Eddie Murphy, and I was going to go into hotel restaurant management, something.
Oh.
I didn't know anything, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I was thrown off course. And Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall said, Eddie, any young comedians listen out there, like, what kind of advice you got for them? Eddie Murphy looked right at the camera, and I swore he was talking to me, and he went, don't listen to your mother. Your mother just wants you to fall back on something. Why would you do that? Why would you, if your life is a whole piece of pie, why would you just say, oh, put 40% here and 40% there and 20% there? If you're going to eat the pie, eat the whole damn pie. If I'm going to computer, I'm going to computers every single day. If you're going to be comedy, do comedy every day. Oh my God, you're right. And that was it.
Wow.
Couple months later, I already made my plan. I worked three shifts a day. Saved all my money because I knew in 6 months from that time, I was going to go into stand-up comedy world. I knew I was going to make any money for a long time. So I needed money to have in the bank, knowing I was going to struggle for a while. And that was it. That was the beginning of the journey down in, technically in Florida is where it really took off.
First of all, your impersonations of both Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy, incredible. Love it. Also, possibly one of the greatest comedy movie duos of all time with Coming to America, which is a movie. I saw something recently that was like, if there was one movie that you would get paid like $1 million to quote like 90% of the movie, what would it be? The first thing that popped in my head was Coming to America, because watched that movie end to end. I can't even tell you how many times. Did you ever meet Eddie Murphy and get a chance to like tell him all of this?
No, and I wanted to my whole life. And the only opportunity I thought I had was the Saturday Night Live 40th year reunion. And he was there. I was like, okay, this is the night where
big one.
I get, yeah. And then we went to the after party, and there wasn't a celebrity that wasn't there. And he was 5 feet from me. And at the last, I was like, I gotta go to, I didn't want to geek out on him. I know the way I am when people come up like, can I just tell you, oh my God. And you're like, okay. Really, I didn't want to, he knows. Without a doubt, someone told him Breuer's huge fan, always been a fan, and you were one of his biggest inspirations. He knows. He somehow knows.
Yeah, but that's such a compliment, by the way, when someone who, you guys are both incredible comedians. I think you are both known throughout the world at this point in so many different ways. But to know that someone who is your peer in an industry, right, thinks of you very highly like that, and you were inspired, or you could inspire somebody like that, that is such a great compliment. So I'm sure he probably takes it as such, but I get it. You don't want to be weird, right? Like, who wants to be like the weird one?
Right. Can I just tell you, Eddie, the first time I saw him, I would have geeked out because I remember I saw him live in Long Island. It was called, at the time, it was called Westbury Music Fair. It changed a million names. Once the banks come in, like, we're changing this name.
Of course.
Westbury Music Fair. I saw great people there. Oh my God. I saw Johnny Cash there. I saw like everyone there but George Carlin, but Eddie Murphy was there. And I dragged my parents out, like, please bring me to go see Eddie Murphy. And someone heckled him, and he just destroyed them.
Oh, love it.
And he was also doing that whole Delirious tour, which was his first concert that really blew him up. So I saw it before it was filmed and aired. So it was even more exciting once I saw Delirious and went, oh my God, I saw all this live. And oh my God, I saw him creating that bit. It was super inspirational for me. So that's kind of the way it all started. That's a 20-minute answer, but there you go. But
what a good story. And by the way, what a good thing for anyone whoever you might be out there, and in whatever career you're pursuing, or if there's a dream you have or something that you want to work toward, what a great thing to hear from you. Like literally this story that, your entire life changed
Oh
at
yeah.
that point. And it's because literally Eddie Murphy was like, just do it. Whatever it is you want to do, you have to work. And he's not wrong. You
No.
have to work harder than everyone. You have to be willing to put in the time and put in the effort and the energy. And if you have something you want to pursue, I mean, you just got to go do it. Obviously you plan on the 6 months, it sounds like, in terms of it taking that amount of time for your career to start going. Is that sort of what happened, or how did you then like kind of get discovered and really become the face that we used to always see on SNL?
The real, so I was what they call a road comic. I was really young, like young 20s. And a lot of older veteran guys that would work in the road forever. So I started doing tons of road work, and most of it was, $25, and you're
Wow.
you're emceeing and you stay in a condo, and the condos were like 80% of the time they were horrifying. That's another whole story. You're staying with drug addicts, with alcoholics. They're bringing in all types of, and I'm like this moral kid from Long Island with just my eyes are like, what are you going? So that lasted probably a solid 2 years, because my goal was I'm going to work my way up to I'm the middle guy. And the middle guy does 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And then once I'm at 20, 30 minutes, I want to make sure the headliner has a real hard time following me.
That's perfect.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
All right.
They're like, oh God, I have to go after this guy again.
Follow that.
Yeah.
Very cocky, very confident. And then I knew, okay, it's time to get on television and go for the movie career. And it was either LA or New York. I didn't know anything about LA. So I moved back to Long Island, and I was doing tons of stand-up gigs there. Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all that, couple road gigs. But then my first real television was in Harlem. And it was called in 6 months, I auditioned in Harlem, 125th and 5th Street. And it was called the Uptown Comedy Club. And it was a sketch show. And that changed. That really was the greatest way to start anything, because it was such it was by hands down one of the most incredible business places to be in my career, in my entire lifetime. There were no egos. There was no cutthroat. Everyone was there to help one another. I don't think shows like this even exist. And we were the poor man's In Living Color, and it was very, very urban. You didn't, it was syndicated, but the urban community loved it because it was so raw, so unpop culture. Mm-hmm. And then when that ended, then it was development deals and blah, blah. And NBC, Warren Littlefield, was a huge fan of me back then. And they asked me to audition for Saturday Night Live, and I said, no way.
Wow, really?
No way am I going on that show, because I knew a lot of the comedians that were already on. And all I saw was everyone that went on, comedian, blah, blah, whatever. When they came off, they were dark, miserable, always complaining. Like, I don't want to hear that. They're like, no, it's a whole new cast and new, right? They're changing everything. And that, I eventually got it. I was the very last cast member to get hired on that new 95 cast. It was really strong female cast, but you had Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Molly Shannon. Norm Macdonald was still the anchor. I think it was David Spade's last year, but that was the beginning of
wow.
a whole different platform.
What a crew. I mean, that sounds incredible. That's when I remember Saturday Night Live, Jim, being funny. That's when I remember, like, at the time, what was I? I was probably 12 when all this was going on. Okay. But I remember, like, going to sleep over at my friends' houses, and we would be, if it was a Saturday night, we'd like get our popcorn, we get the whole thing to watch SNL because it was funny and it was great. And like all of the names you just named that's like I remember all of that. And yeah. What a good group. Where did things kind of change, do you feel? Because I don't remember back in that time things being so overtly political and so, I mean, obviously everything today is like woke is what we would say, but so obvious, like pushing towards some agenda. What do you think like happened? And it's not just SNL, it's kind of comedy in general, because people are afraid to kind of go certain places now where we know that 10 years ago, even people would have talked about.
Corporate demons. I call them the corporate demons. They're demons. They're corporate. Yeah. They bought everything. They gobbled everything up. And then their dictatorship started bleeding into everything. You will say what we say. You will push this agenda, and you will do the things we ask you, or we will oust you, and we will do. Oh, I'm sorry. It makes more sense when I say it this way, don't they? Or you change it to another language, then you're like, oh wow. So even when I was on, Norm Macdonald got fired because he repeatedly would bring up OJ jokes.
Oh.
And Don Ohlmeyer, the head of NBC, I think he was the head of NBC, kept saying, tell him to stop doing that. And Norm was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. You tell me it's funny. It's funny. Mm-hmm. And eventually he got fired.
Wow.
And it had nothing to do with basically Norm Macdonald getting censored. So you can kind of see how it started then, but for me, I think it really started a solid, like around 2000, the late 2000s, 2008, 9, 10, early 12s. I know a comedian or two that might have said something on stage, and now he got dropped from his sitcom. Like good people.
Yeah.
And words that were, when I grew up, didn't mean anything. They meant one thing or another. But now it's like you're the Antichrist if you say that. Like,
oh, yeah, forget it.
You know, and I said in my one special, somebody has to say it. I go, you programmed me in my generation to say this, and this. You can't show up and then yell at me for what you programmed me to do.
Right. Totally.
Basically, like my daughter says, dead ass. All right, dead ass. What is dead ass? And I would say, I can't wait 20 years from now. And she's got 2 little teenagers. And she's like, you know what? I want you to clean your rooms. And I'm dead ass. I'm like, what? You can't say that. You just got canceled. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's... You now you got to people picketing outside. You just lost your job. So it's such a game once you see how this all works. Whoever's pulling the strings, I call them demons because there's no good intention. Anything non-good intention I relate to, well, then it's demons.
Well, but you're right about that in a lot of respects. And I think about, do we ever need comedy like we need it now? People are miserable, Jim. Life is tough for people. We feel, I mean, you ask people the direction of this country, 3/4 of Americans think we're on the wrong track. We've got, wars breaking out. People can't afford basic needs. We need comedy. And unfortunately, people are scared to actually say the things that are funny these days. What do you think we're looking at long term for comedians? What would you even say to a young comedian right now who wanted to get started? Is it even worth it in this environment?
100%. All you got to do is be fearless.
That's true, but a lot of people aren't.
But if you stand by your moral ground and your intention, you be fearless. All I did was, I had this whole whatever you want to define it, resurgence or whatever, however anyone, about however you feel. I said, I'm not playing venues that are now forcing the card.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that video, I mentioned morals, God, blah. That's my specialist. Don't tell me, don't demonize me. You're not going to tell, you're dictating to me what my moral ground is, what my belief. No.
Right.
That's not how it works. But unfortunately, when you're in a slave world, a corporate slave world, where you have to be fearful of losing your job, and you want to stay on TV, or you want to get hired by certain touring organizations, you got to be careful what you say. And that's fine if that's the world you want to live in. But there are alternative routes. There's podcasts, there's social media, and there's other venues. I had a phone call from I had many phone calls, but I had a phone call from a pretty large, very popular comic, and he was very angry at my stance and tried to debate me and blah blah blah.
Oh.
And then I asked another colleague, I went, what? I was really like, what is the deal? Why is he calling me and getting all angry when this person should not worry about, because of the income he makes? And the other comic simply goes, hey man, he just doesn't want to fall off the mountain. He's got think about the mountain he's on and the people he rubs elbows with.
Wow.
That's once you're addicted, people call drugs addicting. Vanity is addicting. Power is addicting.
Absolutely.
Money. That's worse than any heroin in the world.
Yeah.
The first time I go in first class, you don't want to sit and coach. The first time on your private plane, you don't want to go back to regular planes. When you're getting into Rayo's in Brooklyn or whatever, and you're like, I don't want to have that. Like, it's addicting. And people will do anything for it. They'll do anything. They'll lie. They'll cheat. They'll get physical. They'll preach hate. It'll make you ugly. It goes down to it's really as simple as this. What's the movie? Precious. Yes, I want to remain a star. Yes, I want that money. I want that reservation. Yes. That's their precious, their vanity. Right?
Yeah.
So
it's
there's
so true.
Tons, but what you said, Lara, it boggles my mind how you don't open up every Saturday Night Live sketch with Joe Biden falling off his ass, or just
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of America, blah, 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 blah. And so what I say is the freaking how do you not with Kamala Harris in the back going like you got comedy gold 24/7,
right?
But that also makes you realize there's something bigger, darker, and more powerful controlling it all. And that's fine for network television, but they're dead. Network's dead. News is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. I'll check into Rogan because there at least I know I have a 3-hour conversation of a real conversation, and the person speaking looks real goofy when they start selling their agenda. Hence, the latest one, that banana with the bow tie, who will not debate. Of course, he's not going to debate because he's a snake salesman. That's all he is. Like, you don't debate science because why not? Well, you just, it's like certain things you don't debate. Yeah, because you're going to look dopey. That's why, because you're going to look like the salesperson that you are. Because without your paycheck, without the monster behind you, you would never say the things you said. Because A, you don't have the moral background to hold it up, and B, you don't have any of the facts to break it up. You just have, your little smoke screen to still sell fear. Mm-hmm. That's all you're selling, fear. That's all.
And I love the stance that you took as you were just kind of talking about during COVID, that you were like, look, I'm only performing places where you're going to let everybody in, because it's ridiculous that you have to have this, card that says that you got vaccinated. And by the way, Jim, half of these people didn't even get vaccinated. Half these people have fake cards, that says they got vaccinated. They didn't even actually get vaccinated. It's ridiculous. So clearly you have no fear, because you were like, I don't care. I'm only going to do this when it's done the right way. And obviously it worked out for you. You did get a lot of attention for that. And I think it was warranted, because people needed to see someone standing up against the nonsense, against the craziness, and being like, hey, remember where we are, remember who we are. This is so un-American and insane. And you're still performing. You got shows going on all the time. Where can people see you? Where can they get tickets? I assume these are still venues that are like not woke and not crazy at this point. Is that correct?
No. Even some of the venues that have opened back up that are in that world. So anyone just goes to jimbreuer.com. I'm going to have a whole tour announced soon for October, and the new tour, which I'm super excited about. I got a lot of good stuff for that.
Are you coming anywhere in Florida, Jim?
You're East Coast?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I often hit Boca and Fort Lauderdale.
Perfect.
But I work out in Tampa and Naples. That's my workout ground. That's when you see me raw, working everything out.
Oh, that's what you call it. That's the workout. Okay. See, I didn't know that. When I'm thinking of a workout, I'm thinking of like pull-ups and like, bench press and those sorts of things. But all right.
Yeah, no. Like for instance, shameless plug. My Patreon page this month shows me working out at Naples, Florida, little club. And once a month I always put out, hey, here's just for the Patreon. Here's a bunch of stuff I'm working on. And it's a solid hour, 15 hour and a half, but it's still being worked. But that's where I work out my material. Right. I should be over on your side.
All right. Well, we'd like to check it out, because I'd like to see what you're doing. When you are unafraid, then things are actually a heck of a lot funnier. When you're willing to actually talk about Joe Biden and how absurd what we see on a daily basis coming out of Washington, D.C. is, then you're actually very funny. And so I imagine a lot of your stuff is great. You also have a show, a podcast show that you do, Breuniverse. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of people have a hard time pronouncing it. It's Breuniverse.
Oh, they have a hard time with that? Really?
Yeah, so I do. How many times people like the Breuniverse.
It makes sense. It's your last name, Breuer.
My last
Breuniverse.
name. And I just put brew and universe together. Breuniverse. That's it.
Well, I'll count myself as one of the smart ones then. Thank you. I'll take it.
You are. You definitely knocked it out of the gate immediately. You didn't have to stumble. My accountant still stumbles. She's been with me 10 years.
Oh my God. Well, we can help her out. So what's happening on your show?
Well, we go all over the place. Like if people, listen, I know your father-in-law is running. Who knows? Maybe I'll have him one day. But someone, one of his competitors are on this month.
Okay.
They're on as we speak. Had a great conversation.
Who is it?
So we go from real life. Sometimes I go deeper. Sometimes I'll go something where I feel something spiritual.
I like that.
Yeah, I go far and wide. Then we also do what I call the bunker, which people love. The bunker is the quote conspiracy world where
well, but we know what the truth is on conspiracy is it's 6 months before conspiracy becomes reality. So I mean,
And is it 6 months now? Or are we almost up to 3 days?
It's by the way, the time frame is really getting tighter on that. You're right.
Yeah, and there's still a couple, and it's amazing because it's the ones that we put out there. Of course, they've all come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some real good ones that I'd like to get into as we move on. I almost got into it with my last guest, but I'm like, let me start off. Let's start off easy before I start throwing some wild.
Now I gotta tune into that. I gotta see what you're talking about. I'm in now. You hooked me.
Yeah, and then like I said, it's very real life. I'm all about passion, life, and getting to know the human side of everyone again. And to me, the more we label, I'm conservative, I'm liberal, I'm Democrat, I'm Republican, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. We're all connected on a deeper level and on a human level. And I always thought it'd be I always want to start a live stream. I said, why don't we start doing sketches? Why don't we put huge Trump fans on a boat with anti-Trump fans?
Oh my God!
And you got to go out and get the quote supplies that were missing forever, and put Ben Shapiro on one boat, put Rosie O'Donnell on another.
Oh my God! By the way, let me know where to tune in.
But you're not allowed to bring up politics. All you can bring up is family matters and real life situations. Every time you bring up politics, you lose a certain amount of points or you get thrown overboard. And I guarantee you, by the end of that boat ride, you're going to have some people connected on a deeper level wanting to help one another.
Totally.
But I think, I don't know how we're going to move. We need the comedy to move forward. And we also need God, I'd love to see just all news dissolved into the deepest, darkest holes where they belong for all the hate and violence that they have promoted.
That's terrible. But by the way, you're right though. And I think about this all the time and I really feel it all the time. All the politics, all that stuff, it's such nonsense. And at the end of the day, when people really think about it, we all want the same things in life. We're all striving toward the same goals. We want to be happy. We want our families to be healthy and, just general needs met. And those are things that we can all agree on. And I feel like whenever Americans and human beings in general are put in a situation where they really do need to help one another, they do. They often will come to, and no one cares who you voted for. Nobody cares about any of that stuff. And unfortunately, it's why I always kind of feel that one of the things that I think may be the only way to get us to come back to a place where we are all connected as Americans is really to have some horrific situation where, like you're saying, we have to work together. We have to unite as citizens of this country and as brothers and sisters here in America. Maybe it's on the boat, and if not, you're thrown overboard. I don't know, Jim. That's actually kind of a great idea. I love the idea of this. If this turns into a show, let me know. I would love it.
Super Bowl, to be honest with you. I'd watch Ben Shapiro and Rosie O'Donnell in the same boat going at it, and they can't talk politics whatsoever. They got to help each other.
Yeah.
When humans, if I were to if I were to introduce, like, for instance, I don't know, if I were to introduce a non-politician, go, hey, before I introduce you to this guy, I just want to tell you, his wife has cancer. He struggled a lot. His oldest son was on drugs for a while. It was really tough. They almost lost their marriage, but they didn't lose their marriage. But the thing, he's been through a lot. You're instantly humanly connected.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you put the label up, and by the way, he's a Republican.
Right. Yeah.
Or by the way, he's but that's the brilliance of the machine, and people have to. Now, the one thing I know, some people say we need a big bad event to bring us together. I disagree. We don't need a bad event. We just need to constantly promote the human element in us all, and let's all agree that whatever word you want to use, it was very well planned, and it was very well produced and manufactured. The hate division is manufactured. I don't care what you say. It's 100% manufactured. And I call the people that don't get it, they're victims.
Yeah.
And they don't, I have friends that are still, you just mentioned the last name and they'll start having a seizure. But then they'll make their decisions based on hate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very dangerous way to live. And
yes.
So there has to be, there has to come to a time. I would listen, man, when it comes to politics, I would love nothing more than there's no such thing as any party anymore. All there is real humans that are getting together, and you're the greatest business guy in the world. You're going to handle all the business. You're the greatest medical awareness guy, and you're not paid off by the monsters and then you're going to run that, because, in life in general, we don't vote on who the leader is. We just know. We know who the leader is. I know who the leader is in my family. I know who the man is. I know who the wise one is. I know who for certain situations we got to go to. We've been hoodwinkled for a long time, a very long time. And
I'll tell you what, Jim, you're not only are you funny, I feel like you're solving a lot of the major issues in the world right now. But you're so right about all of it. And I wish more people thought of it in that way and kind of like stepped outside of it and took a look at all of the stuff that we're being sold on a daily basis and what we're being told. It's all nonsense, and none of it matters. So much of it is manufactured. I agree with you. And I hope people get it at some point, and I hope we can change. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're so far down this hole. I don't know. Do you think?
Well, that is, you can't save everyone. You can't save the world.
True.
But what you can do is, light is always more powerful than dark. Meaning, if the room is pitch black and I just strike a match, I now have enough light in this room that I can accomplish a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So the power of the light in us all, and to take that light attitude and the human attitude, I truly believe there is enough of us. I'm not sure. I know there is. Even when I did my stand-up comedy, I know what the majority is. And the majority has common sense. The majority has a moral background. And the less you listen to the noise, there's a submarine. There's a balloon. Ukraine. The less you watch the manufactured show, and you realize that our light, our power, our guidance, the spirit in us all, we definitely have the power to clear this darkness out of our backyard. And we're going to. We have no choice.
We really don't have any other choice, because the alternative is terrifying.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Game
Agreed.
time.
Agreed.
It's game. I know they say it every year. It's game time.
It is. Let's
go.
Yeah. Let's put me on the boat.
Helmet on. Here we go. I got my parachute. I'm going in. I'm landing. I don't know where I'm at. I'm in the grass. We're in it. We're in it. It's time.
It is time. It is. Well, you're awesome on a multitude of levels. I feel like I learned a lot just chatting with you today. Where can people find your show, the tickets again? Remind everybody.
JimBreuer.com. You find everything there, the Breuniverse and whatever you got to find. The tour will come out soon. I got a cool event in Sarasota, Florida. I know it's coast, where it's stand-up. It's also a speaking event where I talk about how God has worked in my life in a spiritual level throughout my life. And I'm not a church guy. My wife is. She gets mad. She's like, you should tell people to come. Like, I don't like going to church. But it's called the True Brew Weekend. There's still some tickets left in September. But yeah, the tour will be announced soon, and that's where you can find.
Love it. Well, Jim,
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Do nothing but great success, and I think I'll see your husband eventually at one of these events.
Well, I assume that's correct. You'll see him. Maybe you'll see me. We could do it in person next time. Jim Breuer, thank you so much for joining us here on The Right View. Good luck with everything. We'll keep checking in with you. I'm going to try to come see you if you make it down to my neck of the woods in Florida, because I would love to laugh, because God knows we all need it now more than anything at this point. So thank you for joining us here on the show. And to everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View. So I'm like a lot of people. I love to wear an Apple Watch, but I hate how it looks. And I scoured the internet to search for the best looking Apple Watch cases I could find, and I found it. goldandcherry.com. They have absolutely beautiful watches, as you can see here. Everything is waterproof. Everything looks good with different outfits. You can get sporty, you can get fancy, but they are great quality, made out of Delaware in the United States of America. And they have been kind enough to give me a promo code that I can share with you if you want to get your hands on one of these as well. It's Lara T, L-A-R-A-T is the promo code to get yourself a discount at goldandcherry.com. And not only do they make Apple Watch cases, they also make great products for iPads and iPhones, keyboards, your desktop, everything you could possibly need. goldandcherry.com. Use promo code LARAT so you can get yourself one of these today too. At The Right View, we're very proud of the fact that we are independent. We get to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. We have no woke companies guiding us or telling us what we can and cannot say. We are always going to shoot you straight and give you the facts as we know them. And that's why it's important to support independent outlets like The Right View. My name is Lara Trump, and I think Mike Lindell is a patriot. He is someone who loves this country, is willing to fight for this country. I love MyPillow because not only are MyPillows made in the USA by American workers, but they're great products, and they're so great that not only do I use them in my own bed at night, my children actually requested. My daughter the other day went to the closet and pulled out a MyPillow and said, "This is the pillow that I want to sleep with." And I gotta tell you, she loves it and will have nothing to do with any other pillow. So it's a big hit around our house. My dogs also happen to sleep on MyPillow dog beds. So all around the Trump household, we're big fans. If you go to mypillow.com today and use promo code Trump, again, promo code Trump, You will not only save money, but you will help us continue this show and other shows like it and help us continue the fight for the future of America. Inflation has impacted all of our lives. I don't think anyone can go to the gas pump or the grocery store without noticing that it is a major factor. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going down in the way that we would like it to. And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code TRUMP. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money. We live in a time that's very interesting. A lot of us out there feel like a lot of our rights are slipping away. And if you're like I am and you want to have the right to choose whether or not to have a vaccine, how to live your life freely, and you're looking for a great doctor, I've heard amazing things about Dr. Sherwood. He's somebody who you should really check out and check into, and it'll help support this program and keep us going. So go to sherwood.tv and use promo code TRUMP. Again, sherwood.tv and use promo code TRUMP. You can save yourself some money and help us keep our program going.